I want to say, hey, everybody. Hey, I am Lolita E. Walker. I'm a certified life, leadership, and executive coach. I am a power speaker. I'm a mommy. I'm a podcast host. I'm an author. You name it, I'm likely doing it. However, when I come to you for this power half an hour, I love to bring you a little bit of what I call coaching cocktails and conversations, right? Coaching is where I leave you with a couple nuggets to challenge your thinking. Cocktails is not about what you're sipping on, but there's no judgment at all. It's more about celebrating the greatness of who it is that you are inside of this moment here. And then conversations is the juiciness that we have all together. So I also employ you to hit the comments. I'll read them out loud. This is live on Hey to my Facebook community, Coaching Cocktails and Conversations, LinkedIn, YouTube, Breakfast with Champions, and then open up your mic whenever you're ready as well. One of the things that was so funny last week, I accidentally put, I go on at 7:30, 7:35 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I accidentally put PM. So we weren't able to go live last week. However, I thought that the conversations were so super juicy. And the reason is because I realized that when I'm going live, people think it's so structured that they're not able to jump in. And so I wanted to remind you all that Coaching Cocktails and Conversations, this power half an hour, is all about ensuring that we have a conversation, literally. That's what it's all about. So we had some fun last time. I did want to say about Ramon. Ramon jumped in last time, and I think Ramon and Dr. Jeannie, and that really sparked a lot of conversation. So to hear that Ramon's conference is going so amazingly well right now with support, I'm just so excited for him and where it is that he's going. So if you're not following Ramon Ray, to everybody that is here, make sure that you do. And he's just such a phenomenal soul. Today, I want to talk about something that's near and dear to my heart. I know we have a lot of entrepreneurs that's listening in. We have others that's working in a corporate space or nonprofit space, or maybe even looking for a job. And today's topic is entrepreneurial orientation in the workplace. Now, somebody might be saying, what the heck is that? Don't worry. We are going to pull out our CC&C journal, Coaching Cocktails and Conversations journal, or a sheet of paper, or really get into a place where you're able to receive, because I want to talk about entrepreneurial orientation and definition. And then today, I'm also going to leave you with the 5 key dimensions that's there, and then challenge you with some open-ended questions, whether you can answer now or later on when you go back and reflect, to really challenge yourself and ensure that you're leveraging all that is within you, implementing your own individual entrepreneurial orientation in order to make sure that you can soar wherever it is that you're working, or wherever it is that you are manifesting for greatness in the future. Okay. So, most of you all know that I'm on my doctoral journey, and I'm getting my doctorate in business, but specifically in entrepreneurship. And so I'm in my second year, I'm in my second semester, and I've really been thinking about high level, where is the impact that I want to make when I'm Dr. Walker in this entrepreneurial space. And if you know, PhDs are really in on research and doing all of this research and making sure that you can add to the theoretical strength of what's already in scholarly work. It's like you can add your novel idea, but leverage theories in other people's work in order to enhance it or to add additional value. Find some gaps and maybe insert your way there so that you can make an impact. So when I close my eyes and think about, I'm always talking about by the end of this year, what do you want to be celebrating? Or when you're not here, what do you want people to say about the impact that you made? And one of the things for me, working in corporate for almost 20 years, is really that there is an entrepreneurial mindset. Right? If you're an entrepreneur, then it's not for everybody, but there's this mindset that you have. And entrepreneurial orientation is really all about that mindset, or really these set of behaviors that encourage individuals to think like entrepreneurs. So when I think about having this entrepreneurial mindset, and let's say you don't want to start your own business, but how can it work for you in corporations? How can it work for you to navigate inside of a space that's all about creativity, innovation, growth, but really help the company's bottom line in an established organization? And I really have passion around that, specifically for power women that's inside of the organization for a number of different reasons. So when I think about that as a whole, I really want to come to you guys and just talk about entrepreneurial orientation. and how you possess these. And so I want to leave you with some open-ended questions so you can challenge yourself this week before we meet again next week on whether you possess these skill sets and then how you can make it work for you. Okay. So first, I talked to you a little bit about what entrepreneurial orientation is, but it involves these 5 key dimensions that I'm going to talk to you about as well. Okay. So the first piece is autonomy. Absolutely. Everybody's like, I can be autonomous. It's when you seek opportunities to take ownership of projects and then you make decisions accordingly. Autonomy. It doesn't mean going rogue. It doesn't mean I'm on this island alone and I'm just going to do it because I want to do it. But rather, it's about showing initiative and demonstrating that you can lead. So the questions I want you to think about today are, what is a project or task that you want to take more ownership of? Think about, if you're in an organization, if you're running your own organization, what is one project or one task that you would like to take more ownership over? You see it's moving, but you want to take more ownership over. Now, mind you, this is all about autonomy, okay? How can you demonstrate leadership in your current role? How can you demonstrate individual leadership in your current role? And then what obstacles are preventing you? Because sometimes we're like, well, I do want to be more autonomous here, but I don't know. But what obstacles are preventing you from making your own independent decisions, and how can you overcome them? So sometimes when we write these things down, we write about the task that we're working on right now, and all of these obstacles are rocks. You can even draw it on a sheet of paper that's before you. And when you name them, how exactly can you leap over them? How sometimes can you just move the boulder out of the way? How can you leverage the resources that are in front of you so that you stand up of seeking opportunities to take the ownership of what's right in front of you? Again, it doesn't really mean going rogue, everybody. So please do not say Lolita E. Walker told me to go rogue and I'm going autonomous and I'm doing this thing. I want you to think about what your role can play. Again, we're talking about the mindset. We're talking about the behaviors that exist for an entrepreneurial mindset. And I want to challenge you because I believe that a lot of us are walking around with these 5 dimensions, okay? These 5 dimensions of entrepreneurial orientation. So when I think about the importance, before I go through the whole 5, when I think about the importance of it, it's really about fostering this orientation so that it could lead you to, again, this increased innovation, okay, adaptability, and ultimate growth, because you grow, but also the organization grows. And I'm really convinced that I'm going to leverage some research and resources in order to show how, if we can continue to drive and enhance the increase that people see in these 5 dimensions, oh my gosh, businesses will soar, even established organizations. Absolutely. But how can we foster these in a productive way so that folks can really recognize that this is what we need for our employees to possess? This is what we need to strengthen. And also it encourages creative problem solving and promoting like amazing and proactive work. If you think about it, I don't know what organizations you all are all a part of, but what I can tell you is that I remember being in an organization and sometimes you're working so hard on your own individual tasks that you forget that, oh my gosh, I can actually think a little bit differently. What if I were to do it this way? And sometimes the barrier, that boulder that's sitting right there, sometimes it is when people say, we've been doing it like this for the last 50 years, we're not changing. What if you chose to be autonomous? Okay. So that's the first, autonomy. The second thing I want to talk to you about, which is the second dimension, is innovativeness. Think about it. Innovativeness. Each of us are innovative in our own right, but don't be afraid to really think out of the box. And what I have here, if you're watching, is I want you to look for new out of the box ways to solve problems or improve processes. You all know that I'm an industrial engineer by trade. It's all about improvement of processes, systems, people. And I just get so excited with the notion to see something and be able to be innovative, to look for new out of the box thinking, because sometimes people just don't know what they don't know. And you're sitting on that thing and you're being so silent. So sometimes it's about solving the problem in a new and improved type of way. It's not just about being big all the time, like this huge, big impact. What if we could be small and make small steps inside of our everyday? Oh my gosh, we do it every day. I think about, because we were talking about Ramon so much this morning, I think about Ramon, and he didn't just jump out and say, oh my gosh, I just want to do a workshop. I just want to do a huge conference. No, there was steps to this thing. There was steps to reading books. Then he wrote a book. Then he started going out and talking about being a celebrity CEO. Then he started having workshops about it, right? Then he started infiltrating, I'm going to say, because he's so big in what it is that he does. He started then going in and penetrating, infiltrating organizations and helping them understand how thinking like a CEO could really help their organizations. And now he started with partnerships in order to bring his message in a big type of way. So when you think about the steps, sometimes we could get flustered. Maybe I'm just talking to me about the notion of making change being so big. But what if you took it in bite-sized steps? Today, it's about not only having the mindset, but also having the behaviors in place so that you're thinking entrepreneurial and bringing it to whatever space and place you're working in. I hope this is making sense. Love it, love it, love it. Okay. The next thing that I want to say is around not only now you have autonomy, now you have innovativeness. Let's talk risk taking. But before we do, I want to give you those questions to really think about around being innovative. And when I think about that, let's think about a recent problem that you faced. For me, it doesn't take long to think about that one. Think about a recent problem that you faced and how could you have solved it differently? How could you have solved it differently? Now, I don't want you to tell me how you can solve it differently. I just want you to write it down or think about it. That is thinking about how can you be innovative at the approach, at the response, at even the beginning stages and phases of what the situation was. Or here's another question. What's a process or system that you believe can be improved at your current work environment? Okay. Or in your current role? What's something that can be improved? Or here's a third one. You know, I like three. Here's a third one. How can you foster a culture of creativity and innovation within your team? What's something that you can do to foster that? The amazingness of this is that it can happen not only inside of your own business, but also inside the corporations that you might be already working in. All of this can then help you to become the powerful leader that you are. But it's a mindset, guys. It's a mindset and it's the behaviors. We're talking about autonomy. We're talking about innovativeness. We're talking about to talk about risk taking. Now, risk taking, we talked about cultural norms too before, but risk taking is so interesting because sometimes people shy away from it. But what if risk taking was all about calculated risk? Calculated risks. It's all about what if we were balancing our sound judgment, right? Because we do have judgment and then our decision-making skills. When you balance that, then you can take calculated risks. You can take them and then see how it shapes out on the other side. Everything's not going to be a yes, but sometimes it's the calculation of the risk and then you choosing to own your yes, to jump into that. So that thing is so important. So the questions that I have for you around that one is really all about what's one calculated risk that you can take in your current role. In your current role, what's something that you could take a calculated risk in? So for me, I'm thinking, and one of the things that I am is a full-time student at this time. And so what's one calculated risk that I can choose to take? How am I going to use my sound judgment, but also take the risk so that it can help me in my decision-making, right? What can I do? And I want you to challenge yourself on what can you do in whatever role you're thinking about right now, because this is so powerful that I want you guys to think about, because for you to move and shift within an organization, you need to stand out. Something about you, something about your leadership, something about your demonstrated results has to stick out, because when it is not there, not only don't you stick out, but the question is, are you being value added to an organization? And the reality is you absolutely should be. You're capable of it. So what if you thought about these 5 dimensions differently so you can go in with the entrepreneurial mindset to really make a shift, to really stand up and showcase the leadership that you already possess? How powerful is that? If you're watching me, you know the sun is beaming on my face, so I'm going to close up the window. And I want to open it up too. If anyone has anything that they want to share, feel free before I continue with the next 2. Okay. So we're talking about autonomy, innovativeness. We're talking about risk taking. And now we're going to talk about proactiveness. Proactiveness versus being reactive. A lot of times we're very reactive. We're in complacency. We're walking, talking, and behaving on this schedule, I want to say, of the everyday routine. Every single day we wake up, we're doing the same thing. We solve the same problems. We're dreading going to work. No, I want you to think about, how can I shift and shake this thing? How can I make it work for me? How can I really shift the behaviors, especially if you're a leader in the organization? Even if you're not leading other people's, you show up people's. Even if you're not leading others, you show up in your greatness every day. You show up in these every day. How can you leverage all of these things I'm talking to you about in your day-to-day work? So important. And so when I think about the proactiveness is about creating new opportunities right away. Like, you are the leader here. You're proposing opportunities that's going to add value. You're shifting, you're shaking, you're being in front of the situation. You're being proactive, not reactive. You're seeing a little bit differently. When you have this entrepreneurial mindset, this entrepreneurial orientation, you are looking at things with a different type of lens. You're looking at it with a different type of lens because you're leveraging autonomy. You're innovative in your thinking. You are taking calculated risks, and you're being proactive in your approach. Why wait for opportunities to come to you when you can go out and you can create them? Think about an entrepreneur that you know. Think about, you actually need to solve a problem when you're an entrepreneur. You are being successful because you have figured out where the gap lay and how you can uniquely support people in that way that they need to come to you. Like, you need to come to Lolita for coaching because what? Because I'm able to pour into you in a different way, because I'm leveraging soul work to do that, because you have demonstrated results, because someone has already let you know that I've done that, because I'm leveraging autonomy and being able to talk to you about those things, because I'm being innovative in my approach, which sticks me out from other coaches that are there, because I'm able to take calculated risks and saying, you know what, my program will be different. The way that I approach this thing will be different. Why? Because I'm being proactive in this, because there's this competitive aggressiveness that I'm going to talk to you about for this fifth dimension. Like, you've got to be able to talk about what makes me different, either in my own business or what makes me different and stand out in my company, because I'm able to leverage these things. I hope you guys are writing them down, because sometimes it's just the power of doing this. Okay. Yes. So some of the things that I want to talk to you about in this notion of proactiveness, some of the questions I want you to think about is, what's an opportunity that you can create for yourself in the next 30 days? In the next 30 days, what's an opportunity that you can create for yourself? If you're working in an organization, I want you to think about, what's an opportunity that I can create for myself in the next 30 days in the role that I'm performing right now? And talk to your manager about it. How can you be more proactive in seeking feedback and then continuously learning? If your goal is to make an impact, if your goal is to raise up the ladder in your organization, if your goal is to stand out, if your goal is, when someone says your name, for them to think about all of the things that I'm talking about right now, then what is one opportunity that you can create for yourself in the next 30 days? Sometimes you got to think about it to do the work. Another question on this notion of proactiveness is, how can you be, like I said, this more proactive in getting feedback? Who are 3 people that you're going to get feedback from this month in the next 30 days? How can you be proactive on leveraging that feedback to then go back and continuously improve, but to show up differently no matter where it is that you are? I thought about this not only because it's a passion point of mine, but I thought about this also because I have I'm working with one of my clients, and she's at a senior level position within her company. And as we were talking more and more, it gets increasingly more difficult to really show up differently or for your organization. It becomes amazing to really think about, yeah, you can. Sometimes the blockages are ourselves. And when you ask these open-ended questions, which is what coaching is all about, you really start to challenge yourself and think differently. Who put that boulder in front of you? What did you say the name of that thing was? Well, who put that in front of you? And what can we do in order to erase what you've put on there, in order to move beyond that boundary, in order to go around it? What resources can you have right now to help to push that barrier out of your way? Because it does exist. Where are the stale points in your leadership? Where are the stale points or the pain points in your organization? And what skill sets do you already possess that they love you for, that you could just go ahead and do this thing in your sleep? Sometimes we got to challenge ourselves differently. So I want you to think about that. And then the last question within that aspect of proactiveness that I want you to think about are, what are some ways you can add value to your team or your organization? That's back to what I was talking about earlier, is what what are some things that you can do differently to pump the people up in a different type of way? What are some things that you've heard at the water cooler? What are some things that your direct employees are talking about? So now you all can get together and think of, how now are we going to penetrate that deeper into the organization? Be proactive inside of your approach. So we've talked about autonomy, we've talked about innovativeness, we've talked about risk taking, we've talked about proactiveness, and here is the creme de la creme that I like to call it: competitive aggressiveness. Competitive aggressiveness. Now, when I think about being a woman of color and I think about being a woman in general, I think about this notion, and people talk to me about it all the time. Somebody said I was aggressive, this word aggressiveness. And I've been labeled aggressive too. And sometimes you have to re-educate the folks on what the difference is between aggressiveness and assertiveness, what the difference is between aggressiveness and passion, what the difference of all of the things are. But today, this competitive aggressiveness is really all about striving to be the best in your field. It's about continuously improving so that you can deliver results at all times. It's about not stepping on anybody, being cutthroat, but still getting ahead by way of your results that you're demonstrating inside of the organization. It's about striving for better. Okay. I want you to know, did y'all hear that? Oh my gosh. I want you to know that competitive aggressiveness is a thing, and you can absolutely not fear the word aggressiveness inside of this space, in this place right here. So it's about staying ahead of, being aggressive and staying ahead of your industry trends. It's about being aggressive and competitive, like you being competitive and going out with proactiveness to learn more. It's about me doing research around entrepreneurial orientation, about corporate entrepreneurship, about strategic entrepreneurship, understanding what the differences in each of them are, understanding at the firm level, what does it look like? At the individual level, what does it look like? And then how can I then pack all of those things together and really have something for impact? Remember, this is about inserting yourself and standing up so that you can show up as the expert you already are. Why? Because you already possess all of these things. So, of course, I'm going to ask you 3 general questions for you to think about and challenge yourself in this notion of competitive aggressiveness. And one of them is, what steps can you take, will you take, right? We talked about 30 days in order to stay ahead of any industry trends. So what industry are you in? What role are you playing in your organization? What about if you challenge yourself to read up on an aspect of something that you're working on? What if that could spark your thoughts and your creativity and your innovativeness and your proactiveness, and you standing up and be autonomous and going to your leader and saying, guess what? Guess what I see, and guess how I know that this will actually make an impact inside of our organization where we are. And me being part of the team, I've done this research and this is what I found. What do you think? What do you think? And do that with a suggestion for the improvement. It's amazing. And sometimes people don't do it. I remember talking to somebody and they're like, I don't even give suggestions anymore because then I become the person that has to do all the work and has to lead it. Sometimes that's not always a bad thing, guys. So I want you to think about that as well. Don't put yourself in a box already. The next question is, how can you continuously improve your skills and your knowledge? That goes hand in hand with the first thought that I was giving you. And here's why I said this was so juicy. What does being the best in your field look like to you? What does being the best in your field look like to you? And when you know what that thing looks like and you realize, yes, I want that thing right there, then you'll take these 5 dimensions and you'll absolutely soar. So I hope, despite the fact that we didn't have live comments, I hope that it's because you're challenging yourself in one of these 5 dimensions, or that means the 15 questions that I've asked you today, to really think differently, to be the amazing individual you are, and to leverage and employ your own individual entrepreneurial orientation in order to help you soar where you are. All right. So I'll chat you guys soon. And thanks so much. Appreciate you. The